Hello everyone, and welcome to the new episode about editing with Darktable. In this episode, I would like to address some requests. But before we start, I would also like to say a big thank you to the development team of the Darktable. Over the last few months, they have cleaned up and improved both the code under the hood and the user interface, so that we now have a version that is, to my taste, a real step forward in terms of usability and performance. I'm really very impressed with this new 5.0 version. So, congratulations for that. Let's now turn our attention back to editing. Here I have one small list with requests, and I think we should start with this one here from Tony Barrett. He has asked this question in the discuss.pixels.us forum, and he wants to know how to do split toning using color balance RGB and primaries. And I think that will be a good starting point because it can be useful also for other requests that we also have. So let's get started with this one. The question is, what is actually a split toning? And split toning is one of the color grading techniques that can be used to improve the overall color appearance of the photo by introducing different color tones in the shadows and in the highlights, or in the darker and in the brighter areas of the photo, so that we have that differentiation in the colors. And it's commonly used for improving of the black and white photos, but not only for black and white. Also, we can use it for improvement of the color photos to give the photos that separation, or to give the photos some special mood, and so on. So, as you can see in this case, we have one color photo, but it's quite desaturated. The scene is like that. And we will see how can we use split toning to improve the overall color appearance of this photo. So first, I would like to enable lens correction and maybe denoising, and now we need to concentrate a little bit on the dynamic range of the photo. We have quite a high difference between our sky area and the beach area, and we need to reduce that difference by using tone equalizer. I would like to improve that brightness because we would like to see some details in the sky, and we don't want that much darker area in the beach. And now we can go to the Advanced tab and reduce the brightness of the sky, and maybe improve or brighten a little bit the shadows. We need to be careful not to introduce some kind of hollowing, so we'll use also edge refinement and go somewhere here. Now we have quite flat look now, but let's see how can we improve this photo even more. The next step is to improve the white balance. We can use color calibration for that. Just enable the color picker, and we have some white balance. As you can see, in terms of the colors, there is not much there to see. We have almost gray beach and gray sky. And now we can use color balance RGB for improving of the contrast in the photo, to overliking, and also the split toning. I will use the next instance for the split toning to have to separate those two processes. So let's start with the color balance RGB and add some contrast now. So we can go with the shadows down, highlights up, and maybe also midtones a little bit up. And maybe we can also improve that in the masks area. So I don't think we don't need too much stiffness in the shadows. Now let's play a little bit with middle grade fulcrum, practically separation between those two areas. And now we can add some saturation to be able to see the colors even better. And as you can see, as I said before, it's quite boring color-wise, and we can improve that with the next instance of color balance RGB and apply that split toning. Now we want to have different shades or different tone of the sky and different tone in the shadows. And we can use a four-ways tab for that. We have shadows and highlights area. These two sliders would be quite important for that. And now I would like to add some warmth in the beach. Now we can use hue slider on the shadows lift, find some, let's say there, some nice tone, which I think could be quite interesting for the beach. And now we can use a separate hue for the sky. For example, we can go to the highlights gain area and use the hue, some kind of the blue, and add some chroma there and to see. And now we can play a little bit with the hue and also with amount. Something like that maybe. And of course we want to improve it also with the masks. So let's see what happens if we move the mid-grade fulcrum so that the separation goes more in the shadow or in the highlights area. Let's say something like that. Maybe we can also add some stiffness to the highlights fall-off. I would like to have some bluish area here on those parts of the sand which are much brighter. So we have also not only differentiation between the sky and the beach itself, but also in the beach we have those nice stones which gets more bluish and darker stones which are more reddish, which also gives us a bit more depth. And I think we are good now. The next thing what I would like to do is to improve the contrast of that darker area to give that scene a bit more depth. So we can use color balance RGB next instance, but this time we will mask our red area. So let's do that, because we want only to influence that area. So let's see how the mask look like. And we need to toggle the polarity of the mask. So let's go there and add some feathering. And now we can play also with perceptual brilliance grading, excuse me. Maybe something like that. Let me see. Yeah, it looks much better now. As you can see, we have now improved a little bit the contrasts in the on the beach, and we can play also here with these sliders. Okay, the next step what we'd like to do is to add some details or to enhance a little bit of local contrast, because it looks quite hazy, the whole scene, but we don't want to lose that haziness completely. So I will use diffuse and sharpen and use some kind of preset here, extra contrast, and maybe not that much. I would like to go with opacity slider a bit down. I think that should be enough, just to be able to see some more details in the sand here and on the stone. And I think the last step should be, I would like to separate also, not to separate, but to add some emphasis on this area here by adding one more instance of exposure and darken or add some kind of vignette. and darken the rest. So we'll use a mask maybe here. Let's say something like that, and toggle polarity so that we have masked everything else. And now we can darken just a little bit, just a touch. That's something like that. And now we have a bit more emphasis on this area here. The next thing what we also can do, I think we could use a sigmoid module and widen the target white so that we have also a bit more details in the sky. We have enough room here. So let's do that. And now we have quite interesting scene. So it's not that boring as before. So let me show you before and after. We have started here. We can take snapshot and go to the last step, and as you can see, it's quite big difference. Now what we have improved is the colorization of the photo. As you may see, now we have a bit more bluish or a bit more colder sky, a bit more warmer beach, and that has a nice appearance. I think it's also complementary with complementary colors. We can play a little bit more, I don't know, maybe just to test how it works. I think we can also improve the overall colorization of the photo by using global offset. So I'm back in that color balance instance where I have used that split toning, and then maybe I could add some other shade, some other hue for overall look. Let me see. Yeah, I think that's okay. That's even better. Okay, that is the idea behind that split toning. So let's try some other example. We can also apply split toning for a portrait. In this case, for example, I would also like to have some differentiation between our main subject or model and the background, because the background is quite colorless. And I think we can use first the improvements. Denoising and lens correction is not covered here, but it doesn't matter. And what we also can do, use exposure to bring the brightness a little bit higher. And now we can use color calibration to see what we get. That's too cold, so let's use this area here. And as you can see, we have nice colorization of the model, but the background is a little bit boring. And we can now use color balance RGB to improve the contrasts and also the split toning, with split toning the colors of the photo. So let's go to the color balance RGB, add some contrasts, maybe something like that. I don't know. I don't want to go too far because we already have a nice contrast here. And now we can improve the saturation to be able to see the colors. As I said before, I would like to separate the model from the background a little bit. And similar to the last example, we will use for the darker areas some other shade, some other tone. Let's use in the shadows, so let's use maybe something like that here. And also some kind of bluish for the background. Something like that. As you may see, we have already improved the colors much better, but I don't want to get that much bluish in the face of the woman. So we can go to masking tab and shift the mid-grade fulcrum towards shadows. So we don't have that much influence of the colder hue in the highlights. in the face. And you may see also we have nice differentiation in the colors between the shadow area in the background and the highlight area. So now it looks much better. I don't think we need anything else. Maybe a little bit less saturation. Let me see. Oh, we don't need much saturation, especially not in the highlights. Nice. Okay, now let's see before and after. Oh, let's start with sigmoid. Go to the last step. As you may see, it's quite subtle improvement, but it has a big influence on the overall appearance of the photo. Okay, let's see next example. With this example, we will see how can we use split toning to give the photo different moods. So let's start with denoising. Lens correction is also not important here. So you go to the exposure and add some exposure, and I will like also to brighten a little bit the shadows. So we'll use tone equalizer, my own preset, to do that. And now we have quite balanced, in terms of the contrast, quite balanced the photo. And now we can use color balance RGB to add some saturation. I don't think we need to play with the contrast that much, maybe just a touch, something like that. And now we will create a duplicate because we want to apply a different split toning to each copy. So let's make this one a little bit colder, although the photo is already quite nice in terms of the color. But let's see how can we add some other mood. So I will use a next instance of color balance RGB. And of course, I would like to give the shadows a bit more colder tone. So let's use some kind of a blue and go up with the chroma. And as you may see, we are immediately getting the completely cold look of the photo. And we can compensate that by adding some warmth to the highlights. So let's use some kind of orangey hue and go with the chroma here a little bit higher. And as you can see, we have now the separation between the face and the rest. And we can improve that even more in the masking tab. So let's see, I think I would like to add a bit more stiffness in both areas and see how can we separate them with middle grade fulcrum, which, so when we go this way, we have more influence of the highlights, and the other way we have more influence of the shadows. So I think that is a nice point here. And what we also can do, we can remove a little bit of the original color in the global chroma and add some saturation in perceptual saturation grading. Let me see, but I don't think we need that much in the highlights. Let's see. Just want to play a little bit to get that nice mood. Yeah, and now as you can see, we have nice colors in the face, skin colors, but the background is quite cold. And now with the next example, we can, or next copy, we can go the opposite way. So let's use color balance RGB next instance for this one. But this time we will go a bit warmer with the shadows. Let me find nice hue here, and colder with the highlights. I think here's a nice point. And of course, we can use the masks for the transition. And now we have much warmer look. We can also play a little bit with a linear chroma grading, excuse me. I think we can go with the original colors in the shadows bit down and improve that saturation here. And I think also in the, no, I think that's better. Not that much in the highlights. Maybe too much saturation. Yeah. So you see, we have now two different versions of the same photo, but we have two different moods. So let's see comparison. Let's take a snapshot from the first copy and go back down to the second, so you can see the difference. That is quite powerful color grading technique if you know how to use it. And I will suggest you to experiment a little bit with your photos. Maybe you can find a quite nice look. And I think we are done now with split toning, and I would like to concentrate on other requests. The next request is also from the Discuss Pixels US forum from Leniwiec Michal, and he wanted to know how to achieve some particular look from one YouTube video. I will put the link of the video into the description. And he states, well, I can make the sky more cyan and less saturated. In another post one, Boris also answered me how to achieve something. I think I'll see here done with reds, but there is something more with this look. Pictures in the video are not oversaturated nor underexposed, yet they are, I don't know, thinking deep, rich. And I don't want to show you the video, but I have made some snapshot from that video with the results, and we can now analyze a little bit that kind of style. What we immediately recognize is the photos are in part quite dark, with a lot of shadow area and quite contrasty at first. And in terms of the colors, here also, in terms of the colors, we have some kind, I will say, teal and orange direction. It's not quite that kind of look, but we have three main colors. And these are mostly cyan, so we don't have poor blue, but mostly cyan. And we have also a lot of variation of orange and some kind of olive green in almost all of the photos here. As you can see, also here is a quite nice example for that. And another thing which is quite interesting is in some of the photos he don't have the poor black, so you can recognize that here. So he has raised the white point to the darker gray, so to give those photos quite analog look. So let's see how can we achieve that with the Darktable. For that purpose, we will use this photo, this example, and let me first make some corrections. Lens are not recognized here, but we can correct the vignetting. Let me do that real quick. Something like that. And when we can also correct the perspective. and we are ready now to talk about colors. And as I mentioned before, the whole dynamic range of these photos is restricted to, well, let's say, more or less orange cyan axis. To be able to understand what I'm talking about, maybe we can use here vectorscope. What I mean is this area here. And that means we need to shift the greens a little bit toward cyan to get that olive greens. The blue also towards cyan to get this cyanish, greenish look in the sky. And also the magenta and reds in direction of orange. And that can be quite easily achieved with RGB primaries module. We need to achieve that by color mixing, by channel mixing. And RGB primaries gives you that nice opportunity. So what we need to do is to move the blue hue towards cyan. Then we need to move the green hue towards cyan also, to get that olive green, and also a little bit the red hue towards yellow or towards orange. And as you can see, we have just with this move tighten the whole hue range in that axis. And the next thing what we need to do is to add some purity to the red, because the reds seem to be quite saturated there. I don't think we need to do that with greens and also with blue. And now we can go up to the color balance RGB and add some contrast first. Let me go back to the vectorscope so that we can see. And those photos needs quite a lot of contrast, so let's play that with that. Maybe something like that. Add some saturation. And also play with the masks a little bit. I think we need to shift that a bit down to that area, that area of the shadows. Maybe not that high fall off here. So let me see again. And the next step would be to raise that black point. So you're practically what you are doing, you're adding some kind of hard limiter to the whites and to the blacks. So you can move the target blue up, and you can see we don't have poor black anymore. And we can also do that for the whites. So you practically, normally you will do that if you want to adjust your photo to the restrictions of the photo paper if you want to print them. But you can also use that technique for aesthetic purposes. And I think we are quite near that look. I think we can go with the blue even more to this direction. And let me improve the contrast even more. Something like that. And what we also can do, I will go down just a little bit with the poor whites. And more or less you have that look now. You can, but he has, I think he has also a little bit more details. We can use diffuse and sharpen to add some local contrast, not that much, maybe something like that. And now you have that kind of look quite easily done. And I think he has also quite a lot of saturation in the reds. So let's use also We can use two things. We can use color calibration for that, or color equalizer, doesn't matter. I can use, let's use color equalizer and add some saturation just to the reds. Let me see. Yeah, that's about there. You can see it's quite similar to this one. Okay. So let's use one more example for this look. Before we do that, excuse me, maybe before and after, let's go after perspective correction so that you can see those changes in the colors. And this is practically that kind of look. By the way, you can also use color balance RGB 4-ways tab, the global offset, to raise that black point up if you want a bit more that analog look. Okay, let's try another example for the same look. So let's try once again to achieve that kind of look with this photo. The first thing I would like to do, as always, lens correction, and this time we have the lenses for this photo. And first thing I would like to do, I would like to darken a little bit the sky, because here we have the main subject, the guy that looks at that mountain here. And we can use tone equalizer for that real quick. Let's go down with the brightness here and there. Let me see what happens if I use guided filter. No, I think it's better to use, in this case, exposure independent guided filter. Let's say there. And now, the other thing what I would like to do is also to darken a bit the sky even more. So I can use color calibration for that. Let me go dramatic. I'm darkening the blue channel and brightening a little bit the red channel to compensate that. Now I have some kind of look in terms of the brightness, and we can improve now the contrast in the photo. Something like that, add some saturation before we change the colors. I think we have now enough contrast. And now we can play with RGB primaries as in example before. So we go with the blue hue down to the cyan. And you can see if I move, maybe we can also turn on the spectroscope. If I move the blue channel towards cyan, you will also recognize how these flowers here are changing from that orange yellow to orange. And that is the kind of that look. And now we need to shift the greens a little bit also towards cyan and the reds towards yellow or towards orange. I have that kind of look. What else can we improve it? I think we can play a little bit with masks here in the contrast. So let's go a bit more. Let's give them more stiffness in the highlights. Maybe move the whole thing towards shadows and less of the fall-off or less stiffness in the shadows. Something about there. I think we can brighten the photo just a tiny bit. Okay, now we have that kind of look. And of course, what I forgot, we also need to add some more saturation in the warmer parts of the photo. Let's do that real quick with color equalizer. And now as last step, of course, we need to add, so to say, the hard limiter for both areas, highlights and shadows. And we are good now. I don't think we need more details. Okay, let's try. Let's see. Okay, it could work. I'm not fan of that kind of look, but a little bit is not that bad. And now we have achieved that kind of look. So let's see before and after. What do we start after lens correction? That was the starting point. And we can go here maybe. That's practically that kind of colorization and contrast. As you may see, it's quite similar. Now just a tiny bit more hue, blue hue there, yeah. Okay. And this kind of look will be also interesting for another request that I have. It's quite often used for that kind of analog looking photos. And I think we will stop here because this episode is quite long, and we'll continue our dealing with requests in the next episode. Okay, thank you for watching, and if you have some questions, you feel free to ask in the video description or video description in the comment section, or go to the discuss .pixels.us and ask your questions there. Okay, until the next time, bye bye.